Good evening, everybody. The time is 7 o'clock and we're going to get this meeting going. Deb, if you would kindly do a roll call.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Hansi,
Here.
Counselor Purser,
Here.
Counselor Parrish,
Here.
Counselor Downs,
Here.
Counselor Miller.
Present.
Great, thank you very much. I'm going to ask everybody to stand, take a moment of silence, collect your thoughts, and we'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. We have an agenda before us. Deb, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda, Mr. Mayor.
Great, thank you. With that, bring it back to council. Somebody want to make a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the agenda as before us. Second.
I think you got that one. We have a first and a second.
Counselor Williams,
Yes.
Counselor Hansi,
Yes.
Counselor Purser,
Yes.
Counselor Parrish,
Yes.
Counselor Downs, and Counselor Miller. Motion passes 6-0.
Great, thank you very much. We have one proclamation tonight. Pardon me? Well, it's proclamation and presentation. And it's kind of special because hopefully this is something we only do once a decade, if tradition holds true. So there is no pressure there, but we only want to do this every 10 years. There is no official swearing in city ceremony for a city manager. However, once again, it's been 10 years. We have a new city manager and we kind of want to take the time to recognize the importance of our new city manager, Shannon, and the commitment that this brings. So with that, Shannon and crew, take your pick, come on up. And I'm going to ask council to come around. We're going to do an official swearing in of our new city manager. And James, I'm going to ask that you kick us off.
Oh, okay. Oh, thanks. All right. It's printed. All right. Shannon, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Shannon Vossen, do wholeheartedly commit to lead with integrity, transparency, and dedication, ensuring that the city of Fruita remains vibrant, welcoming, and an innovative community. I will work to uphold the values of collaboration and respect in all aspects of governance.
Will diligently manage the operation of our city. Ensuring that public resources are used efficiently, responsibly. And in a manner that reflects the trust placed in me by the city council, city staff, and the people of Fruita.
I will make decisions that reflect the best interests of Fruita's unique spirit.
Decisions that reflect the best interests of Fruita's unique spirit.
In Fruita, we like to start with yes.
Fruita, we like to start with yes.
And I will bring the mindset to problem solving, collaboration, and the pursuit of opportunities that move our community forward.
I will work to remove barriers, find solutions, whenever possible to support the success of our residents and businesses. I commit to fostering strong relationships with residents, businesses, and community partners, always seeking input and embracing diverse perspectives.
I vow to lead with creativity and adaptability,
So be with creativity and adaptability.
recognizing that Fruita thrives on innovation and forward-thinking leadership. I will honor our past while shaping a future that keeps Fruita funky, fun, and full of opportunity.
With this oath, I accept the responsibilities entrusted to me as City Manager of Fruita. I will serve with honor, energy, and commitment, working tirelessly to support the City Council, city staff, and every member of this extraordinary community.
You're almost done.
You're close. I, Shannon Vossen, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the city manager for the city of Fruita and will uphold the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Colorado, and the charter and ordinances of the city of Fruita. Congratulations.
Thanks. You'll need it. That's right.
That oath is so long, we can only do it once every 10 years. So it was important that we all took part of it from council because we all took a lot of time, effort, almost as much time and effort as Shannon did in making this decision. So we all wanted to recognize him as a group. So thank you, everybody. All right, with that, we're going to move into public participation and consent agenda. This section is set aside for the city council to listen to comments by the public regarding items that do not otherwise appear on this agenda or that are on the consent agenda. Consent agenda items are items where all conditions or requirements have been agreed to or met prior to the time they come before council for final action. These items will be approved by a single motion of the council. We are here to hear from everyone who wishes to speak and want to ensure that all voices are respected. To maintain a welcoming and productive environment, we ask that there be no clapping, cheering, booing, jeering, or sign holding. This helps ensure that everybody feels comfortable sharing their thoughts, even when opinions differ. Each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak, and I ask that you please introduce yourselves with your full name and address. While we won't be responding tonight, please know that we are listening. And I want to thank everyone for being here, for engaging in this process, and for treating each other with respect. So with that, I would like to open it up to public participation, and please feel free to come up. Once again, you have 3 minutes and state your full name and address. Yes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Paul Schultz. I'm from the Red Rocks subdivision. I address you today with profound sense of urgency and distress regarding your ongoing devastation of our community's invaluable assets. The recent obliteration of the Compton Ditch wetland and the ongoing destruction of the Skiff Avenue wetland, alongside forcing out cherished family farms, signifies a blatant disregard for the very elements that define Fruita's identity and appeal. The Compton Ditch wetland area, once a beloved neighborhood sanctuary, teemed with vibrant wildlife, birds, frogs, toads, and flourished with native wetland grasses. This natural haven provided residents with a tranquil retreat and supported a diverse ecosystem that filtered the water going into the Colorado River. The city of Fruita's current actions involving the removal of this rich riparian habitat not only annihilated local biodiversity, but also stripped the community of its cherished green spaces and nature's filter. Equally alarming, the city's aggressive encroachment upon longstanding family farms, particularly evident in the 19 Road project. These farms are a living testament to Fruita's agricultural heritage and community spirit. Their destruction for urban development undermines the very fabric of our community. I demand City Council to, 1, immediately cease all destructive wetland activities at the Skiff Avenue and Compton Ditch wetland sites. Number 2, convene an urgent meeting with all affected community members. Get out and talk to the community. Go up and down 19 Road like I have. Let's hear what you see. Talk to environment experts, stakeholders to transparently discuss these projects. Number 3, develop and implement a comprehensive preservation plan that safeguards our remaining natural habitats and honors the legacy of our family farms and wetlands. You have in your possession photographs vividly depicting the ongoing destruction of the Skiff Avenue and Compton Ditch wetlands. These images serve as undeniable evidence of your ongoing assault on what makes Fruita exceptional. It's time for decisive action. Do the right thing now. We must preserve the essence of Fruita before it's lost forever. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Please come on up.
Good evening. My name is Janet Wyatt. I live at 235 Drumlin Circle within the city limits of Fruita. I am here this evening on behalf of myself, many Western Slope Sierra Club members, and the over 200 Fruita residents who have grave concerns regarding the proposed Astera Plastics processing plant. Although the county will make the zoning decisions from agricultural land to zoning that could include a business such as this, we ask that the council lean on the county and health and air board to block the passage of this proposal. A county line boundary doesn't recognize toxic fumes. We don't know if Salt Creek would be impacted by any toxic runoff. The details seem vague and should be clarified as to any potential harms to the community. Upon reading the proposal for this project, it sounds relatively benign if you didn't notice the omission of any air release pollutants or wastewater releases that could potentially harm our Salt Creek as well as residents. Further, naming this a recycling plant is a misnomer. Turning plastic into fuel cannot be considered recycling. The idea that this could be the answer to our enormous plastics problem is unfortunately false and wishful thinking by the plastics industry. These processing plants usually emit more greenhouse gases than fossil fuel-fired power plants, releases harmful air pollution and toxic chemicals, and offers no ecological or economic benefit of true recycling. Byproducts generated include benzenes, toluene, dioxins, and many other toxins linked to cancer, birth defects, and other serious health problems. Large quantities of CO2 are released. Producing hydrogen from plastic is carbon intensive. No existing plastic to fuel technologies can currently offer a net positive energy balance. This is a not in my backyard call to action. This isn't frivolous complaining. We feel that new modulars on the landscape and a constant humming until 10 p.m. from the grinders don't belong on agricultural lands. Fruita, Mesa County, or anywhere don't need this type of processing plant. We value our environment. Agricultural land is disappearing rapidly and shouldn't be rezoned for such purposes. A decision like this could turn our boundaries of Fruita into an industrial eyesore. With Moon Farm, the Equine Therapy Center, and other agricultural interests in the vicinity, the answer to this request should be a big no. We ask that the council take a strong position saying no to the Astera Plastics processing plant. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Janet.
Is there anybody else that would like to please come on up?
Good evening. My name is Ellie Schultz. I live at 1204 Periwinkle Lane here in Fruita, which is the village at Country Creek, which is the community for people 55 and older. We have 200 some homes of people in mostly their 70s, 80s, and 90s, and we are very opposed to this. We think it is in the wrong location, that the siting of it is wrong, and I realize the county has to make that decision, but we are asking that the city of Fruita take a position to lean on the county, as Janet said, to not allow this to be built. There are a number of reasons. First of all, it sets a precedent for the use of the farmland. It also decreases home values for those people who live in that area. There are potential problems, and I sent some articles to your mayor about the issues with the syngas that is produced, the graphene that is produced, which is in its end product, a good product, but the process of doing it is not appropriate for this location. Plus, this is their flagship facility. This company has never built a facility like this before, so I'm not really sure that it needs to be in our backyard. And I don't like to be a NIMBY kind of person, but this doesn't seem appropriately placed. They don't have any history of doing this process, and should there be any issues with it, they don't even really know. So, as Janet said, I'm just echoing that we ask that the city, for the health and well-being of its residents, that you oppose this and present that position to the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who would like to come up and speak?
I would like to talk to you guys about resolution.
State.
Oh, sorry. I got so excited. One of these days I'm going to be like, my name's Bob Dole. I'm Tessa Bynum. I live at 255 North Ash Street here in Fruita. I want to talk to you guys about resolution 2025-09 on the consent agenda for today. I just want to make sure that I have an understanding and that my numbers are straight here. So allow me to start with resolution 2024-32 from October 15th, 2024, when council approved $25,000 to Columbia LTD, which was $2,500 more than they needed in case of emergencies. So were there any emergencies? Because I didn't hear of any. So I'm honestly curious if there were, and what were they? If there weren't, is that money just gone? So now it is 4 months later, or 4 months and 3 days later, and you're asking for another $4,500 to go to Columbia LTD to cover travel expenses, bringing that total to potentially $7,000. If it is $7,000, that is $2,333 per candidate. If it is just the $4,500, I want to know where that emergency money went, and it is $1,500 per candidate. I met all the candidates when they were here, and of course they were all great, including the one that flew his own plane here from Cortez. So, sorry, I just lost my place. I tried looking for the requirements of each candidate when they came here, but I couldn't find any. So that limited a little bit of my information, but from what I understood, on the 9th and 10th, the council had the candidates busy basically from the time the sun came up till after it went down. So they didn't have any expenses those days. Hotels in town are expensive, but not that expensive, that I'm aware of anyways. So I will just say that I've taken 4 people on vacation for less than what you're asking for and had a great time. So I would and I can provide an explanation of where that money went. So again, I'm just asking for where that money went, the first $2,500 and why we're paying another $4,500 when I didn't hear or council didn't hear or explain where the first money went. I am human and I do miss things and I could be wrong. I will accept it if I am. I just think that we deserve some transparency and some answers. Thanks.
Thank you. All right. Would anybody else like to come up and speak at this time before we close public participation? All right, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and close public participation and bring it back to council. So we have our consent agenda before us. Anybody like to discuss anything that's on consent?
Yes.
Aaron?
Staff, can you talk more about resolution 2024 dash something? I don't have it right in front of me.
The recruitment budget amendment?
09?
Yes, yes. 2025-09. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Item E.
Item E.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, Tessa, for bringing those comments up. So this one is, we had expenses in both 2024 and 2025. So for the city manager recruitment, council initially budgeted $25,000 for the entire recruitment. Out of that, $22,500 was for the executive recruiter, Columbia LTD. And then we did have 25 left over for any kind of contingency expenses. Last year, we ended up spending $23,000 just to Columbia. So there was the 22.5 for the process, but also we council added a half day on top of that to help with the brochure, just finalizing that. So that was an additional 500. So last year we only spent $23,000 total. So then since we didn't have anything budgeted in the recruitment line item for this year, we have to go back for the additional 4,500 in travel expenses that were used for the 3 candidates. This included, so it is roughly around, so in total it's about 27.5. So there were about 4,500 just in travel expenses. Council invited all 3 candidates and their spouses. So this includes flights for one of the finalists and his spouse, per diems for meals while they're here, and usually 3 nights hotel stay as well. So yeah, we have all of that. We're just we went over budget since we had a 0 budget this year, so that's why the contingency budget amendment is before you.
And Shannon, if memory serves me correct, we did engage Columbia LTD a little bit more in terms of the brochure because of the changes.
Yep.
And then I also know we reached out to them additional times because we went more in depth with the process and brought him in to help guide us through those additional meetings. So for an example, if I remember correctly, I think we only had budgeted 2.5 hours or 3 hours after the interviews to discuss the candidates.
Right.
I think that may have been a little aggressive thinking on our part to come to a decision that quickly. We ended up taking a break and then coming back for another 4 or 5 hours the following Tuesday to work through that process to come to our final decision.
Yeah. And the recruiters, they have a day rate, so that's that extra 500. So it just kind of got added. So we did have the 2,500 for contingency, but then that was before the travel expenses. And that's always an estimate because you never know how many people you're actually going to bring. It could have been 2, could have been 3, it ended up being 4 and their spouse. So that's kind of the differences between the 2. Yeah.
That initial consultation, the initial thought was there would be 2 candidates to bring in. So that would the proposed number and what was budgeted was along.
Yeah.
So did we originally budget 22,500 for Columbia? Is that what it was, the number?
Yeah. And then we originally had 25 total, separating them out between the years, and that's why you have a 2025 budget amendment. Yeah.
So, and the 2,500, was that out of the 22.5 or so was it 20,000 and then 25 on top of that?
It was 22.5 plus 2,500 for a total of 25. We only spent 23 last year, so 2,000 is carried over to help with this $4,500 difference.
So then that would make it so that we shouldn't be behind 2,500 then, unless my math's wrong.
Spent in 2020.
Yeah, to
we have to
spend this year.
Allocate it for this year instead of 2024.
So
Okay.
in total, we're a little over $25,000 for the whole process. Some of it was spent last year, some of it was. There's procedures and processes that we have to follow financially, so we have to amend the budget for this year because we didn't twice amend it all, just like we do with other aspects.
Yeah.
Are we done on that topic?
I'm
guys?
lost. It's okay.
Are you good?
Not really, but everybody else seems to have it. I guess I just don't understand.
No, get clarification.
Get comfortable.
All right.
Yeah.
So
25,000.
we budgeted 25,000.
Yeah.
We used 22.5.
23.
Was out of the 25 originally.
Yep.
The
Yep.
22
Yeah.
was going to go directly to them. We needed 500 more of that, correct?
Yeah. So for
That puts us
23.
at 23.
Yep.
So we still had budgeted 25 at that point, right? So that left 2,000.
Yeah.
We spent $4,500 on getting everybody here.
Yeah.
So if we're adding another 4,500 to that, that's an extra 2,000.
Yeah. An extra
On top.
20. Yeah. An extra. Yeah. Extra 25 on top of the 2 that was saved in the prior year.
Well, we're asking to move for 45 here though.
Yeah.
Spend all the money in 2024.
Okay. So that's
goes
where that
down.
other 2,000, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. I think that
Yeah.
would just kind of got lost
yeah.
in translation on it.
Thousands moving over.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a better way of saying it because here it looks like we're asking for an additional 4,500 where we're really asking for additional 2,500.
Yes.
And we're
yes.
taking 2,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes a
Yeah.
lot.
The government accounting is great. The budget year has to be when the expense is actually incurred. So in 2025 is when we had the finalist interview. So that's why we need those funds for 2025 as compared to 2024.
Perfect. The way that wording was here, it made it look like we were asking for 4,500
Yeah.
instead of taking 2,000 and adding 25. So
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Of course. Yeah. Thank you.
Good.
Yep.
All right. What else, Aaron?
Just want to get some communication around, sorry, this is the next one for the financial reports for December. That's another agenda item, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I'm skipping ahead, aren't I?
Way ahead.
We do have another contingency budget amendment I could speak to. So we do have an amendment for the 2024 budget. And this is just transferring funds for legal expenses that we went over budget on in the general fund. We spent a lot on legal last year, especially towards the end of the year, but we're also wrapping up like a lot of very important projects like the launch public-private partnership, the Headwaters project and all the agreements with that. So we ended up going over budget by $10,000. And in order, so when the auditors come in, they look at our financial statements, they don't give us a note on our financial statements. We need to clean up the budget. So that's why you see that 2024 budget. Out of our entire budget, 14 funds, only one program was over budget, and that was the legal program.
That's all I have. I'll save my item itself.
Yeah.
James? Anything? No?
I'm good.
All right. Well, with that, we have the consent agenda before us. We want to make a motion?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a first and a second. Any additional questions, comments before we poll council? Deb?
Counselor Hansi?
Yes.
Counselor Purser? Counselor Parrish?
Yes.
Counselor Downs? Counselor Miller? And Counselor Williams?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. We have nothing on for public hearings. So we're going to go ahead and skip to our administrative agenda. First up is our financial request, our financial reports, a request to approve the December 2024 financial reports. And who, Joe, are
Yep.
you doing this?
Suspense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So while Joe is walking up, I will say, so each month we put the financial reports in front of council. It's usually approved on consent, the consent agenda, but twice a year we like to do a check-in with council, once in June, right before we go into the financial statements presentation, one in December. So this is that December kind of check-in. We have our full 2024 sales tax reports. So Joe will be presenting that to you tonight. There are 4 reports in there. There's a sales and use tax, which kind of covers the large sources of revenue for the city. So city sales tax, county sales tax, et cetera. They have a budget comparison report where you can see where we actually ended up actuals compared to budget. And then we have a revenue report as well. So those are kind of the 3 things and 4 things with the cover sheet that's always included in the financial reports.
Thank you. Joe Zaire, Finance Director, City of Fruita. Always glad to be here. Remember, I was only here for 6 months. Can't take credit for all of it, but overall, we are in a good position. Just looking back over the year, tax revenues, as if you've looked at your reports, not just for the sales tax, but for all tax revenues that we collected, we were just slightly above our budgeted amount of 11.2 million. We came in at 11.5 million. Yay! We were down slightly on use tax on vehicles and tax on building materials. Understandably, interest rates and lower cost of materials kind of led to some of that. But we were significantly higher on interest. Yay! Because of interest rates, so it's kind of double-edged sword. Property taxes came in just about 10% higher than anticipated, as well as county sales tax came in slightly above at 3%, but overall we landed in a good spot and very good projections on the part of the budget master. So if you have scrutinized these numbers quite well, you can see that city sales tax was up just slightly, but once again, it goes to good budgeting in terms of being conservative on these numbers rather than thinking high that everybody's spending. It's not really happening that way. Use tax and building materials overall for the year, we were down almost 17%. And then also city lodging tax. We were trending up pretty early in the year and throughout the fall, but then kind of fell off in October, November, December, and came in about 5% above what we had budgeted, which wasn't too bad. And 5%, let's just be realistic, 5% is about $8,000. Okay, so not talking about the same $1 million numbers as sales tax or property tax. The same thing, county sales tax came in just a little higher, just about 1%. And then public safety tax almost hit the mark on the spot, coming in just about 1% higher. Overall, that left us in a really good spot. So, number of other licenses, permits, things like that came in about 20% above what it was anticipated. So we budgeted 61,000, we came in at 74,000. Really nice, really well done. I really can't speak to too much more of this, but we had a good year overall. Landed the plane pretty well, and now we're just going to straighten out a few things before we start putting together the financial statements. Any questions?
So I'll let you go.
You want me to go first? So with sales and use tax, so we're down on motor vehicles. What's kind of do we have an idea or any color with why that's down?
I can speculate, but I am not an expert in that field.
Piggyback a little bit. What is the delay between when we see the actual dollars come in versus when we get them, since we don't manage those ourselves?
Yeah.
Is that a 60-day, 90-day?
2 months, yeah.
60-day.
Yeah.
Can I jump on the back? And then I was going to go similarly with that. How do we equate for late returns and late sales tax just in that particular thing? I know it applies to more things, but like say someone doesn't turn it in on time,
right?
And say it's in 2 months late or whatever. I guess that I've never really noticed how we've went back and added that in. How does that go?
No, so generally what will happen, those delinquent numbers are not very big. They're definitely not material. And so they get included in the month in which we receive them.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, and if they became, so we had one instance of misreporting on motor vehicle taxes for December, which we received in January. Our initial receipt was $3,000. The actual number was $97,000. So once they found that error, once we called them and said, we think this is wrong, and they found the error, we just received the other $94,000 this month.
So that would go back to Mayor's question. Does that change it to where we actually put it in that quarters? So does that
So
kind of skew our?
Yeah, for
overall look?
reporting, we reported it in December as December revenue. So you're seeing it on this current report. As far as for the booking, we got to book the dollars when they hit the bank.
Exactly.
And so we'll probably have to make an adjustment and a notation in the financial statements to reflect that.
So there's flexibility there when we're.
I wouldn't call it flexibility.
I don't mean it's flexibility. No, it's there, but I mean, it's flexibility on when it falls in.
Oh, yeah.
In a quarter.
So
And we see
there's-
it.
Yeah.
System for that.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. There are rules.
Yes, there's
to account
definitely
for this.
rules.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. And my whole thing was I was just, if we had numbers that were supposed to be in Q3 of 24 and they're coming in at Q1, when we're looking at it 2-3 years from now, we're going to think, well, what happened to Q1 this year compared to 2 years ago where we made 90-something thousand that we're not making? Then we would kind of look at it through a false lens.
Yeah.
That was what I was trying to get.
Yeah.
at.
And so that's why it's February and we're talking about December's finances.
Sure.
Because of the way it comes into the bank. Yeah.
And that's a great question. Sometimes we do have some of those nuances too, where although the numbers may be lower just because of those one-time kind of projects throughout, use tax building materials, great example. 535 West Aspen was paid in 2022, 2023. And then, so even though they didn't get their certificate of occupancy until last year, it still kind of showed up front. And then they have a few more buildings to do as well. So we can usually, there's just those nuances. But yeah, if there are things we need to clean up in the reporting, we can generally do so later. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
So when we book things, is it on the accrual basis or the cash basis when we receive the funds?
So it's on the cash basis when we receive it. At year end, when we put together financial statements, we have a modified accrual system for government accounting. And so we make those accruals at year end for the financial statement.
So you can try to really reflect what's true, what was a liability.
Right.
For
Correct.
people who collect sales tax from 1/1 to 12/31. So you try to really get it in the period in that it was charged.
Yes.
To customers. Okay. Jump into building materials. So we're down $55,000. And to me, that's just an interesting figure. So when I'm looking at page 57 and looking at the chart of data, can you help me to understand why are we seeing, so we over this 5-year period, we see an increase and then a fall. And with the development of property owners that they're having on with developments, I was expecting that number of 274 for 2024 to be higher, more relative to 2023, maybe even a little bit more. How does that all fall with how the development's going on right now? Because that's all building materials. So that's as they purchase their material packages, right?
Correct.
So we've seen a lot of construction down at like Iron Will, for example, and Copper, I don't remember what their new name is, but Copper Creek West, they're on the other side of the road. It just seems like we've had some consistent building. I think Dan's always talked about that we've been at the 1.5% to 2% growth rate, even though we might see what seems to be booms of construction. But so why are we low?
Yeah, I think this is a combination of a few things. The timing of when building materials are paid, the 535 was a good example of that. And actually, we just received the last filing or filing 4 for Iron Wheel just this month too. So that was 70,000 between impact fees, building materials, and also inspections fees as well. So a lot of it has to do with time. We also think some of it has to do with kind of decreased cost of materials as well. So especially during 2021, 2022, when interest rates were low, so much was happening as far as the real estate market that it seemed like there was much more transactions. People were buying more homes now they're sitting kind of longer. So that may have slowed down kind of the development to where, even though when we were still seeing 1.5–2% growth, things are kind of sitting longer, and we have a lot of developments on the books, but they're not building out maybe as fast as we'd thought. So timing, I think supplies and materials have probably went down in cost as well. I'm guessing that's probably the bulk of it, along with just, kind of what we're seeing across the country with the increased interest rates. Yeah.
And yeah, just FYI, looking at it too, 2022 was our peak year, and we have come down 2023 and 2024, 12%.
Wow. Yeah.
So we are on the decline overall.
Yeah. Our planning development director.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, Councilmember Hansi, I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that 535 West Aspen was pretty close to about $48,000 of use tax on building materials. So that number of 55 grand year to date that were like devoid, it's really like that project that's skewing that number. It's not that the actual like activity has changed. It's kept relatively at pace with where we've been from 2023 to present date.
And so you're saying that the lower, I'm just blanking out on that project. That's the old car barn that you're talking about.
Yep.
They didn't pay sales tax?
They paid use tax on building materials, and it was just short of $50,000. So that's a huge project. That would probably be the equivalent of 35 homes.
So you're saying that like that hit in 23?
Correct.
Even though we built most of that in 24.
Correct.
I shouldn't say we, I misspoke there.
Right.
The developer built those in 24. So okay, I can see how that's swinging things. Just related, of course, are we still with what we are seeing in construction in our community? Are we still at that 1.5–2.5%?
We are to date. I think that one of the things that could change that number to create it to tick up a little bit is over the last, like, I'd say 18 months, we've been creating a lot of lot inventory. And we've had a lot of subdivisions that are developer builders. And we're about ready to open up West Canyon and Rose Creek, where there'll be a lot of varying builders in there. So that could increase, the activity. Because they're just building it out at their pace per their business model, where we're going to have kind of the more traditional developer that's going to sell finished lots rather than developer that's going to go vertical on the finished lots.
See that bump? So we're just seeing maybe like 3%, maybe a little bit more, but it's.
I would hate to speculate on exactly what the percentage would be, but we can certainly try and keep the council up to date, like as the months go on, just to see if we have an influx of building permits that come in and being responsive to that request.
That'd be great. Thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? I don't know if it's a question or more of an observation, which is our city sales tax, which, for the month we're down, I understand that it fluctuates. Year to date, though, in 2024 is 1.8. Joe, do you happen to know the breakdown between, because that number includes both online and bricks and mortar, correct?
Correct.
And I don't have the detail, are we still seeing the decline is in the bricks and mortar and the uptick is in online? Is that trend still happening? And if you don't have the information like right in front of you, I apologize for kind of asking you this question.
No.
On the fly.
I told Dan I would not get sucker punched, and you just did it. No, and I don't have a connection to the internet right now either.
Mine hasn't.
Okay.
Thanks for that. But no, I don't have that right offhand, but I know that we were trending upwards on online sales tax. And so I think that has stayed the same throughout the mid-year till now. Like I said, just been here for 6 months.
And I would like to, if possible.
I think
Clearly not for,
Yeah, so this is kind of, we have our sales revenue, sales tax revenues by category. You can see 2022, 23 and year over year change. The online retailers are up 12% over the year, and you can see some of these categories are down. Oil and gas, we generally don't budget for that. It's very sporadic when we do get those. Rental, leasing, 44,000 or 44% down. So all categories, when you look at them in whole, are down 2%, but retail trades up 16, other miscellaneous up 16. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a feel for what's bricks and mortar, what that's trending versus online.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And some of these too are specific, like project based. So if there was like a large project happening throughout Fruita, last year and slowed down this year, we would see that kind of in the year over year numbers.
And for me, that's just something we need to pay attention to.
Right.
In terms of what's happening on, our downtown, our business district.
I may, so if I am, but if the retail trade is brick and mortar and online together, we're up there. 16%.
No, I believe that's just kind of, yeah. Oh, it is. No. Yeah.
Oh, I thought that was.
Yeah.
It is what then? That 16% is, what does retail trade mean?
So retail trade is the bricks and mortar.
Great, okay.
That does not include online.
Yeah, the remote sales,
The our bottom line is 12%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, because then that's my misunderstanding, is I thought those were.
Yeah.
Because that makes it 16, like 12% online, 16.
I appreciate you making it bigger. It's not going to help with my misunderstanding.
I was making it bigger for myself, Mr. Mayor.
Other remote's gone all together.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that helps us all a
Yeah.
little bit more. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Didn't mean to sucker punch you.
It happens to the best of us, but I'm still standing. Mr. Mayor, City Council, thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe.
Yes, does anybody else have any other questions for Joe?
Well, he's gone.
Back.
Yeah.
I guess you're in the clear.
I think the one thing just to mention as he's sitting, go sit down.
Yeah.
With you. I know it's just great to see that we very much well manage our budget, stick within budget. Being, I think last year was a $32 million budget and we were over 10 grand.
Right.
That says that we do a very good job at managing our nickels and our dimes. And I think when I was looking at this, I think one of the nice things is cash that we have invested, like we doubled, we added or nearly doubled $360,000 extra in just interest or earnings. That's fantastic that we can manage that, because sometimes that can be a very hard thing to manage as you're dealing with ebbs and flows of cash flow. But I think we're doing a very good job for our community to utilize our resources that we have, which comes from the taxpayer, and we do a good job at utilizing those resources appropriately. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and thanks for bringing that up. I did bring up this one graph, and I know this is very hard to read, but yeah, even though we were over 10,000 in legal, the budget as a whole was under. But you can kind of see, looking at specific sources of revenue in the general fund, we were $1.75 million over our anticipated budget last year. Like Mayor Pro Tem Hansi was saying, a lot of that's interest earnings. We tend to be pretty conservative because we don't know what the Federal Reserve will do with interest rates, whether they'll go up or down. So we try to be really conservative, but we're also seeing a lot of other types of income increase as well, whether it's, grants we consistently get. We got some backfill on property taxes, et cetera. We try to be very conservative so we can use those one-time funds in the future for the capital projects and our large projects throughout Fruita. Yeah. Thank you.
And then as it relates to the legal fees, and I'm not trying to imply anything by this whatsoever, but as part of our review process, we're now trying to tie costs, and we haven't gone through it, the formal process yet, but part of those questions are geared towards trying to better understand legal activity with costs and connecting those two for council. So we are working towards making a tighter correlation between activity and cost.
But yeah, and then didn't our cost for per hour go up as well with legal anyway, didn't it, recently?
But it was like
Yeah.
$5 or $7 an hour. I mean, it was something.
But we did have some,
It
so
increased, but it was
it
fairly
does help us to be a little more aware overall, just in general, even without that, to just know exactly what we're utilizing when we use it.
That goes to the point that we have this wonderful foundation that we can do those types of reviews. If the house was on fire, we wouldn't get to that point. We're not. We're holding very strong and able to start elevating and doing more because we have good resources. So.
All right, so make sure I don't mess this up. With that, we need a motion to approve item A, the financial report. And is there a,
I move to accept the December 2024 financial reports as presented.
Second?
first and a second, any additional questions, comments? Hearing none. Deb?
Counselor Purser?
Yes.
Counselor Parrish?
Yes.
Counselor Downs? Counselor Miller? Counselor Williams?
Yes.
And Counselor Hansi?
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Okay, thank you very much. Last item on our administrative agenda is the administrative update about 2025 capital projects.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I was going to kick this off as John makes his way to the podium, but essentially what we're trying to accomplish this evening is to update council on two projects that over the last few years have taken some time to get to where they're at present date, but they have started to commence towards looking to bid here in the not so distant future. And so we wanted to explain the timing of that, explain kind of why that's taken the time that it has, and kind of some strategies that we've come up with as a staff to try and deliver these to the community in an expeditious fashion. So I will leave it to John, and you just let me know when you want to go to the next slide.
Stan. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. I'm John Vasey. I'm a civil engineer in the engineering department. I'm here tonight to update you on our South Mesa Street revitalization project and our Maple Street Bridge project. I apologize that you don't have this presentation in front of you. I had some IT issues last week, so I'll try to do better next time. Anyway, start out with on slide 2, it's just a CDOT general view, CDOT status of where we are. Both of these projects have funding grants with CDOT oversight, so we're going through the CDOT process. On slide 3, you can see this is out of the CDOT local agency manual. Slides 3 and 4 are the, I guess, a outline of their process, just an overview. On slide 4, you can see the highlighted portion is where we're at now. So slide 1 is all stuff that's been done. That's acquiring the grants and working through that process. Where we're at now is our project development. We're at the project development stage of that. So going on to our South Mesa Street revitalization project on slide 5, as I said, we're moving through the CDOT project development project. On slide 6, you can see a blow up of that slide that was highlighted before. So those are all the steps that are included in that CDOT project development. So you can see on this project, we're down to where we're ready to develop the plan specifications and the estimate in a final state, final process package to CDOT, to be submitted to CDOT. So we've been through all these other processes, and so now we're ready to move to where we're finalizing that. So as moving on to our slide 7, we've been through this process, through all these processes, we've been in contact with the businesses and the residents along that corridor. All the properties that have been affected, we've needed to get temporary easements from for the project. They've been contacted. We've gone through the process. They've been compensated, and so we've moved through that process. Going on to slide 8, as part of the CDOT process, you've got to obtain different clearances to be able to go to add. At this point, we've completed the utility, we've obtained the utility and the right-of-way clearances. So that means we've contacted all utilities, gotten everything under, you know, in line with all utilities. They understand what we're doing with the project. They're doing what they need to do for us with that project. And we've obtained the clearances from CDOT to move forward with that. Going on to sheet 9, this CDOT clearance that's still pending is the environmental clearance. There were some comments. If you move forward to sheet 9. Wake up back there, Dan.
I'm going through your PowerPoint, but you all aren't.
But we've got the only clearance that we're lacking from CDOT is an environmental clearance. And they just had some comments in our last round of reviews with CDOT that got our consultant working through those comments. Once we get those comments addressed, we'll resubmit that to CDOT, and I don't anticipate having any problem getting that right away or the environmental clearance. Okay, as we move forward on slide 10.
Katie's pulling up right now. Yeah.
Are we having, okay, I apologize.
No, no worries.
That comes back to me not getting my work done last week, so, but.
I don't think you're responsible for the internet.
Yeah. But.
Who's the IT
so
director?
We're up to slide 10, if you can get there. Okay, so on the project schedule, we're expecting to start construction on this project once we finish working through all the CDOT stuff. We're targeting a window of opportunity for the contractors. You know, we've got to prepare the plans and specifications. By specification, we're opening up a window for the contractor during the bid process to say they can start sometime between June 2nd and September 29th. So these dates correspond to the Monday after Mike the Headless Chicken Festival or the Fall Festival. So opening it up so the contractor can start work sometime within that period. So that, you know, we're doing that to try to allow the contractors enough flexibility and get the best price we can from them. So that if they have crews available, they can start on June 2nd after Mike the Headless Chicken Festival and be working through the heat of the summer, you know, after our spring busy period. Or, you know, if a contractor is busy at this point and they have crews that are available in the fall, they can bid accordingly and can start in the fall and then, you know, and then move through winter construction. That's why we've set it up. That's South Mesa. That's South Mesa specifically. Okay, moving on to the next slide. It's our project budget for the revenues. We've got the CDOT grant at $1.736 million. We've got general fund dollars for $434,000 in the project. And then we've got sewer fund dollars at $240,000. So that sewer fund, those dollars from the sewer fund are to replace the sewer line in Mesa Street before we do all the surface improvements. So we get that sewer line replaced and in good shape before we do the rest of the project. Excuse me. So the project expenditures on the next slide. We've got a design contract of $121,500. We've got a construction management contract of $595,000. And that is a cost no exceed contract. We've entered into that contract to get their help with the CDOT processes. There's a lot of construction management that goes into that. And our staffing just seemed like we're at a point where we were going to need that assistance. We wouldn't be able to do it in-house. So we went ahead and contracted for that. But because of the timing of this, we had to get a cost not to exceed. So we anticipate that cost will come down. We'll be able to work through that and come up and work with the consultant. But once we get a construction contractor, we'll be able to identify that a lot better. The next thing on there is the construction contract. We don't know the value of that yet. That will come with a bid process. And once we open the bids, then we'll know what that is. And we'll be able to come back to you at that time with those values. But at this point, I wouldn't want to speculate where we're at with that. So then moving on to the next slide, move on to our North Maple Street Bridge project. That's another bridge development or another CDOT project, and that's on their project development, the big yellow one that I had on the previous slide. This is, you can see we're not quite as far on this project. We're at the field inspection review part of it, and so we've got some more parts of the project to move through to get it to construction, but we are working through that. Going on to our next slide, with our residential contacts on this project, because it's been ongoing, we have been in contact with all the residents that are close. I've talked to them. They are aware of where we're at and that we're moving through a design for that. And so they are aware of it and are cognizant that we will be coming and talking to them in the future with our right-of-way needs. But so we've just been staying in contact with them. Should have brought my water up here with me. Okay, moving on to the next one. Next slide, our project schedule on this one. We expect to go to the FOR or final office review. That's a CDOT process sometime in March and April. And with that process, the way it works with CDOT is you provide the plans to CDOT for their review. And then there's typically like a 6-week period where they will review it. And then you get their group of people together to have a meeting. And so it's generally a 6-week process for them to coordinate their schedules to where they can all get together and conduct that meeting. So that's part of the reason when you get into these CDOT projects that you see an extended period of for the design, because you submit a project, you wait for their response, you get their comments, and then you address those comments. And then you go back to the next phase. Okay, so moving on, we've got the right-of-way plan review. We're expecting that to be March and April as well. That review process typically goes a little faster. We don't have as many people involved with the right-of-way, so we're hoping to get through that and get once we get authorization from CDOT, then we can go out and talk to the landowners and move through the right-of-way acquisition process with them. And we do have a consultant on staff that or under contract to do that for us. Then moving through, we've got the final plan submittal expected in June or July of this year. Advertise, we're targeting September of this year, and then going to construction in the fall or winter, or fall and winter of this year. That's what we're expecting at this time. Project budget on this, we've got congressional direct spending or congressional
Directed spending.
Directed spending, thank you for that, of $1,750,000. So we got that federal grant. We've got a Mesa County grant of $500,000. And then general fund dollars of $81,400 that are budgeted for this project now. As we go to the next slide, we've got the expenditures for this. We've got a design contract of $250,000 with a consultant to go through this. Our land acquisition environmental contract is the $81,400 from our general fund. We've got construction administration contract. We don't know what that is. We don't know if we're going to need that or not. If we are able to staff that ourselves, we may try to do it in-house, save that money. Otherwise, we'll go out for a contract and hire someone to do that. And then again, the construction contract, we don't know what that is. We won't know that value until we get to, the bidding process and, go through the bidding process and open the bids. And so that's something we'll have to learn in the future. Okay, moving on, gets us to the slide I was anticipating. Questions? That's the last one.
Questions?
I have two. One question, one comment. You mentioned June 2nd to September 29th for South Mesa
Yes,
to watch out for the festivals, correct?
that is correct. That's how those dates were identified.
Fall Fest is September 26th. So I don't know if that's an important adjustment in dates that we need to think about when that's very minor, but it may
Yeah.
not be minor.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you. I will have to check that.
And then on the bridge, how many residents, I know you taught to them, how many residents are affected for that project?
We've got 3 residents that I've been in contact with. And as I understand it, this latest revision of our plans for some of the safety features may be affecting a 4th property owner that I have not personally contacted yet. So we'll need to get in touch with them. But that's something that I've just become aware of.
Thank you.
Anything else? I've got a question. This may not be a fair question to you. So we have roughly $3.4 million worth of CDOT grants. One's, I guess, through the federal government, and one is directly through Colorado.
Yep.
Out of that 3.4, what is do you know what their administrative fee is on that? Is that 15%, 20%?
Don't answer that, John.
I'm just curious, when we look at budget, I do know like every CDOT dollar comes with an administrative
Additionally, yeah.
fee attached to it. So I'm just, out of the 3.4, I'm just kind of curious, what are real dollars to the city versus money that gets clawed back by CDOT? And I don't know if that's different for the federal versus state.
I do not know the answer to that, to be honest with you. I was not aware, typically, I don't know that there's an administrative fee that would reduce that, the grant amount. So
Percentage go on
typically,
top.
there is a match that we have to put in place for these grants. I believe it's a 20% match. So on the South Mesa project, let's see if I can find those numbers. So that, with the $1.7 million grant, the $434,000 is the match that we have to provide to that. That's why that money is encumbered from our general fund. So when we get the grant, with our grant agreement, they have on there the amount of the grant, and then the amount of our match, and then the total amount for the project listed in that agreement, the contract that's signed between the city of Fruita and CDOT for that grant funding. So I think the match is probably what you're thinking of being the administrative fee. So, and as I understand it, both of these grants have that 20% match. And then with those, as the project is undertaken, part of the agreement is that any funds that exceed that amount in the project becomes I guess an overmatch. It's considered an overmatch on our point, and we would have to come up with those additional funds. So they would not match that from the federal, with the granting agency. So we would have to come up with any extra funds.
With Maple Street, like it's going to be a comparable project to the Pine Street or 18 Road Bridge that we upgraded a few years ago.
Yes.
Or a couple of years ago.
Yes.
And I believe that one shut down 18 Road for like 13 plus months. What are we expecting on this one? Have we learned and are able to execute certain efficiencies so we can have that shut down much shorter than?
Yes, I would anticipate that we will have a, I would anticipate a shorter construction period. Since it is a CDOT grant, there will be specifications that will, dictate the time frame for that. And I would anticipate that we would get some, with the CDOT process, contractors have to be pre-certified with CDOT. And so they will be aware of those requirements. So I would anticipate should go a little faster.
Good. And then with some of those right-of-way acquisitions have to be made, are they are going to be similar in nature as 18 Road, to where some of the, I know like one property or two properties had on 18 Road had their property line was the middle of the road, not your typical on the other side of the easement. Or is that going to be similar with
That's
this one as well?
correct. I believe some of those
So most of this is like,
to extend to the middle of the road. And as with the right-of-way acquisition people that we have worked with, because the road exists and will never be going away, we clean that up through the right-of-way process. We basically obtain that right-of-way, but we do not pay for it.
Got
And so, and then any additional beyond that existing road, then we do compensate them for, the appraised value.
and I appreciate that you guys are already discussing this with the property owners, just so we can make this nice and clean and respectful process. With the South Mesa, so that's just south of the roundabout. Have we started having discussion with business owners so that they know that they have an impacted period?
Yes, we have. That was part of the right-of-way acquisition that we did. And we, like, as I indicated, we have the right-of-way clearance already. So as part of that, every business that was affected was contacted. If there were lease or business owners that, not the property owner, but the business owners operating within that property, they were contacted and had to basically sign a release letting us, indicating that they were aware that the project was happening. So we have been in contact with everyone that's immediately on that property. Now, I do intend, and I haven't made it happen yet, but to go talk to property or businesses adjacent to that, so it's just a matter of timing and trying to make sure we know when it's going to happen before we start contacting everyone outside of the.
And do we have construction
corridor.
plans that help to minimize that negative impact that they may have from construction, and not just tear out sidewalks day one and they don't.
Right, yes.
Or if the project's a 6-month project, that they have no sidewalks for 6 months, which means
Right.
nobody coming in for 6 months.
We have written the specs in a way that we're trying to dictate a phased implementation of the project. We don't want to tie the hands of the contractor too tight so that which would increase the cost significantly, but we want to give them flexibility to do the work. But we are requiring that they do it in a phased process where they, have to tear out an area of the sidewalks and then get that replaced before they move on to the next sidewalk. So they aren't tearing one area out and then leaving it for an extended period.
The last question is, so when you talk about these, like, here's the example, I think this is Maple Street. So this is looking at like $2.5 million for very expensive bridge. Do we have expectations that we're going to be close to this with costs? I know we still have to put out for bid.
Yeah.
Or do we think that we're gonna have to come out further out of general fund for all?
I'm reluctant to speculate on that at this point, just because, until we have the bids, we don't really know. And, and we don't want to, I guess, give anyone a bad, bad impression.
Thank you.
I think just one thing, I think also because it's going to be a competitive bid, we don't want to say one way or the other, whether or not we feel like we're going to hit that in case we come under or vice versa. So not giving up any of the competitiveness of the bid.
Appreciate that.
Is there a bad place where that comes back? It's just not smart for us to do it, and we pull the trigger and just don't do it.
I think that's kind of part of this sort of phase one of presenting to council is we're going to come in and essentially divulge that we're going to go to bid. And then we're going to come back and talk about kind of some of the questions that were asked, which is the constructability, how it's going to affect businesses and residents and, kind of what time of year it's going to take place. And then have a thoughtful conversation about costs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Yeah.
All right, with that, we're going to close the administrative section and move on to our city manager report.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Just a few quick updates tonight. First off, I do want to say thank you for the swearing in. That was great to have my family here, be able to have them with me as we did the oath. I thought it was great. So I really appreciate all the time that each of you put into that. And of course, for just taking the time to do that as well has been awesome. I'm still a little in shock with how well behaved my daughter was, although she took a seat at one point, which was great, but I was anticipating much worse. So got to give her the benefit of the doubt next time. I know. A few super quick things. Our boarding commission, our first boarding commission mixer is next Wednesday at 5:30 at the community center. So this is one of our goals as we try to continue to expand our boarding commission program. A lot of the members and also the staff and the liaisons for the boards have indicated that they want to collaborate with one another. So we're getting the boards together next week for one of 4 mixers this year where they can get together, learn about each board, learn about each other, and see if there's opportunities for coordination, collaboration in the future. So I definitely would encourage anyone to attend that if they're on a boarding commission. They're also getting the mixers at the Civic Center, not the community center. Thank you, Ciara. They're also getting their boarding commission gift as well next week, but if they don't, we'll also deliver that to the meetings throughout.
Hey, Shannon, before you move on from
Yep.
that,
Yeah.
what does that day look like? Is that going to be and they're going to do little short presentations on their particular thing? Can you just give us a little bit?
Yeah, I actually don't have kind of the run of show, but I would imagine that we've talked about it where the chair will just like give a quick update on each board. We'll have a kickoff, whether it's someone from council or myself can kind of kick off the meeting, but then each chair will go over. And then from there, they can all just have a discussion. If there's any specific boards that want to work together or talk, they can do so freely after that.
Great.
Yeah. Right. Sent out an email last week. Our tour of the Fruita Middle School is scheduled for March 18th at 5:30 p.m. So we'll have council. Our leadership team is also very interested in attending as well. And we'll have some representatives from the school district, their COO, their building maintenance supervisor as well. So they've asked that we park over on the auditorium side. We'll meet there and kind of start the tour. So that'll probably be the bulk of our meeting right before our second regular meeting in March. Try to get some dinner as well, since we'll be having several hours between the tour and our regular meeting. Ciara and I were just looking at one of the final revisions to our community survey this afternoon. So we're able to incorporate pretty much all of the feedback that council had. We did have to take out a few questions that never never got a ton of responses, or maybe were covered in other questions. So we will finalize that probably this week, if not early next week, and then send the updated version to the council. Depending on timing, we can discuss that at our workshop next week as part of other items, where we can have a specific agenda item on March 4th for it. But we're able to incorporate almost all of the questions. Mostly just took out some stuff that after doing all our master plans, comprehensive plans, we felt like we already knew the answer to, but we'll send over kind of side-by-side comparison to council once we're done to get final approval. And then my last item, there is a bill that's working its way through the General Assembly and the Senate right now regarding voting protection and election liability. I don't know if all of you have seen this yet, but CML, the Carlisle Municipal League, has been sending out a lot of emails asking for testimony on this bill. So I'm just going to forward you the most recent thing if you haven't already received, but they are asking for municipalities to speak up on this bill. It's Senate Bill 001. It's the Carlisle Voting Rights Act, which does a variety of things, but I'll send over the information. But CML is working on that along with some of the other organizations that we're a part of. It really opens the door for potential liability for municipalities who run their own elections. And it could, they're worried about some of the repercussions that may occur due to that expanded liability. We ran our own election the last 3 elections ever since the clerk and recorder has told us they can no longer do our elections in April. We've been doing it. So we have a very small staff that does it. We do mail-in ballot only. So it's already pretty thin as it is, but we'll send over that information. Then we can have a discussion on that at a future meeting. That's it. Thank you.
How soon is CML looking for support of this? They're waiting for it to go to the House?
Yeah.
where it
So
kinda goes before they're looking
yeah,
for
there's
support? What's the
testimony going on today in one of the committees, and then it'll go to the Senate, House for General Assembly after that, and then reconciliation. So it kind of depends. They are right now at opposed unless amended position. So they're looking for feedback, but they're initially calling for testimony today. But throughout each process, there will be opportunity to provide testimony. Yeah. Yeah.
My preference is that this would be something we'd put in a workshop to discuss, to see if we are in alignment with CML on this. And if so, just saying, okay, what do we want to do and how do we want to support it?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Of course. Yes. I'll send that over shortly. Yeah. That's it. Thank you. No.
All right. With that, we'll bring it back to council. Anybody want to go first?
Go first. Mine is short and sweet. Tickets for Coco Vino for the Heart of Fruita Sculpture Program are now available. And we expect another great turnout. I think we've already sold quite a few tickets, so it's always a good thing for the city to get that art rotating throughout. And we always are very appreciative for the support of everyone. So, and secondarily, the in my mind, the OEdit conference. How many people registered? Good. Okay. That's okay. That's why I'm asking, is because I'm going to reach out and get a secondary link for anyone that didn't register or couldn't or whatever. And just wanted you to know I've got that. And
I don't remember if I registered or not.
okay, that's okay.
What are the dates of it again?
It's for days. We get our preference for days.
Oh, good.
What, Andrew, what are the dates of that conference again?
May 1st and 2nd.
We want first.
We want May 1st. Yep, that's right.
All right. Anything else? All right. Then Amy, why don't you go next?
Okay. I was wondering if we can add the eminent domain timeline. It was part of a
Oh, the staff report? Yeah. Yeah.
that to the files on a really great just
Yep.
yeah out.
Yep. We'll add it on the fruita.org/19 road.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wherever that's appropriate. It's like probably the files tab would be good for that.
Yep.
And then I am going to be attending the resource tour in Grand Junction. I don't know if any of you guys were going to go on that, but I'm going to be in town that day anyways. So over and
heard of that conversation. I think that's it.
I am curious about everyone else's thoughts on maybe discussing a preservation plan, like areas in our city that we would like to maybe see kept washes, or what, or maybe that already exists and I'm just not aware of that. But I actually don't think that that's too bad of an idea to have something to say, oh yeah, you're committed to keeping this.
Kind of like Snook's bottom.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Those sorts of things. I'm just curious if anyone else has a interest
Sound like
in chatting about that in a
maybe
workshop.
to have them bring
Yep.
to us and
That's
show
always
us what we're conserving and what we're not, and where we could.
We could if we aren't, yeah.
What's the criteria?
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole
Those things. I'd love to have a
parameters, yeah.
discussion about that. I think it'd be helpful if we were able to point out something like that.
I'm seeing the head nod from Shannon, which means.
We'll be on a
Yeah.
Workshop? Okay.
Thanks. I also was wondering if we could find out who is in charge of the recycle plant, if we could get that person to come. I know you said that they're going to do something public. I don't know when that is. I actually would love to make some sort of stance from the city council on this, but I feel like we need to be educated on all sides. And so I would love to request that this person come chat with us and give a presentation on that, maybe before as soon as possible, because I would like us to actually be.
Yeah, I think the
presenting.
sooner the better is if we can get them, because it's gonna just get more and more.
Is that an appropriate ask? Like, is that a?
I think if, as this council, what I'm hearing is we want to take a stand on this.
Right.
And I think we would not be doing our due diligence if like we ask of others, we need to make sure we do our thorough research and have a better understanding.
Is that possible, Shannon?
Yeah, we can definitely look into it. Yeah.
But let's also, can we be cognizant of when we need to make sure we give our feedback to the county for a timing? And I don't
Right.
know when that is.
Yeah, I don't believe public hearing dates have been set yet for it. Just for everyone's information, the recycling plant, it does go through a conditional use permit through the county. So there will be two notable public hearing dates. The first will go to the county's planning commission, and then after that, it'll go to the actual board of county commissioners. So that's several months, I would imagine, before it would actually go to the Board of County Commissioners. And staff does still have direction to write something to Planning Commission and Board of County Commissioners. We're going to keep it very narrow based upon the criteria of their conditional use permit, because that's how they need to make their decision. But we haven't seen, since there's no public hearing scheduled yet, we haven't seen kind of the full application materials that will be presented. But we do still have that direction, and we can give kind of feedback based upon our interpretation of their code, which we actually interpret a lot.
This is,
Yeah.
appreciate
Yeah.
it. And I know this is a passion
Yeah.
for a lot of people. Once again, we need to make sure we do our due diligence, but I want to make sure we hit necessary.
Yeah. And the public comments, they have been receiving them. In fact, their PIO, or one of their, Stephanie Reese, actually reached out to us and said that due to our post and everything else, they've been receiving a lot of comments to their community development department. I think she even asked Ciara, what'd you do? So that was great. They're at least being directed towards the people who will be making the ultimate decision on yay or nay on the conditional use permit.
So Shannon, if someone from the public did want to have a conversation with someone at staff, is there someone in particular they could come to the desk downstairs and ask to speak with? No, I mean, just to, if they want to come and
we
talk
can
to
refer them
somebody in
where to
our
find more information, but yeah, what do you think?
Absolutely. Like as it relates to the application, we would have no issues like directing them to the necessary like information or resources, but interpreting their regulations is not something typical.
We don't really have much we can do, but
yeah,
sure.
And every email I receive to in 24 hours, And that all gets forwarded on to the county as well.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of comment, as you can imagine. Yeah.
I'd imagine.
Yeah.
That's all.
Great.
Aaron.
I've got a few points. I just appreciate everybody who's come to visit this meeting. We love public participation and love to see them here. And so we really appreciate you staying for the whole meeting, because I know there's some times that comments can be made like in the public hearing portion early in the meeting. And at that point, we don't communicate. We just listen. But at the end of a meeting, this is when we can address if we so desire. So it's appreciated that you guys all stay for this and see it. So we do appreciate you coming. I think just some points again. I think with the 19 road, there's a lot of passions with that, and I think that again, just like what we're trying to do with 19 and M is we want to get the facts and the information and make appropriate evaluations of things. And so as we look at the 19 road construction that's going on right now, we have a great web page for that. I think it's currently linked in the spotlight. So you just go to our main page, go to the left, it's going to be pinned on that spotlight list. So it's easy access, and it'll be a great addition to have the agenda item packet information there as well. Procedural question: when public comes up and we ask them to give their name and address, do they need to be specific with address, or can they just say neighborhoods? Because I've been over the last few months, I've seen a mixed thing, and I think it'd be great.
Specific.
Okay.
If I'm not catching it, thank you.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we're consistent with all parties. And that's only stands if you're, I guess.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter if you live
live
in another state, another country, you still are given an address. Okay.
That's right. It's for, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm interjecting. Mary Elizabeth Geiger, City Attorney. I was just going to say it's really important for the record and for the minutes to have that information. So a specific address. And again, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's within Fruita or not.
Okay. No, that's great to know. Last item that I have is it's just another comment with 19 and M. We hear the community's comments, and I think we're all passionate about making sure that we evaluate that project on its merits and per the process. I think, Shannon, you had mentioned that there's a strict process and criteria for evaluating that conditional use permit. And so we're being patient, just like the community is waiting for this information so that we can address it on your guys' behalf. But thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Thank you, Aaron. James.
I didn't have much this week, but I did go, there's I can't think of the name that they gave it. It's a little longer than I hope they fix it, but it's this new downtown business group that's been meeting.
Like a independent group?
The chamber's doing it, and it's really nice. It's a good stakeholders and the businesses downtown. And it was the second time we got together. Before I had talked about we had talked about the pedestal. That came up again. Very interested in having that. There's a map that's being worked on that's going to have all the businesses drawn on it, and they wanted to have that on that pedestal. So that's something we still are hoping that staff's looking at. They've already done the Fourth Fridays. They've done that. They're trying to revamp that up. And then they praised the council for the concert that we threw in the winter. There's a recording of it, and that they want us to do more. So
More Isosaurus.
more Isosaurus, yes. And it was a very excited, yes, can we do more of those? So we did talk to them. I think, I can't remember directly, but we tried to steer them towards some tourism things, because there's some funding there that they might want to look in, not for the concerts, but for maybe their map and some things they were looking at doing. But anyway, there might be an ask coming from that group to do another concert or two. So we'll see what happens there. But other than that, I'm really excited that group's getting together. It's kind of having some pretty good ideas that they're coming up with. And apparently that will start working into being the committee that works on Fall Festival, which I think it makes a lot of sense, because the downtown businesses have always been the ones that complain about the lack of foot traffic in their stores because they're blocked out. So I think that it's covering a lot of ground with that particular thing. So I want to commend the chamber for their approach at putting that together. And I think that we're going to get a lot of positive movement out of it. So but other than that, that's it.
I have a chamber meeting tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Sure.
So I may get some more updates on that.
Yeah.
If there's anything specific you would like me to bring up or ask as it relates, just let me know before 7 a.m.
Sure. No, I couldn't think of any. That was just one thing and I did. And being that I'm on council, when I'm there, it's obvious that I'm on council. So there's some things that I'm kind of talking in that purview. So that's it.
The Downtown Business Committee is what it's called.
Yes. Needs an
Yes.
acronym or
Yes.
something.
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't roll.
Yeah. And I sat there writing, trying to figure out ones, but I couldn't.
I really have no updates. I won't have anything until tomorrow morning on that. However, I do want to ask if we want to go into executive session to discuss the district court case. So, and if so, we would need a motion to do so. And I just happen to have the language here if you so want to do it. So if somebody would like to make the motion.
Can I break back
Yes.
to our updates real quick that we had the city, several of us went to the after hours last week.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
And it was in this city update and all of that, the Friday, whatever. But that was fun. I hadn't been to one before and it was a good time and
It was snowing.
it was snowing, so there wasn't a ton of people, but it felt like a good representation of Fruita there for sure. I don't mean the city even, but I mean like Fruita-centric businesses. And so more like on the outskirts of town. It was neat. It was nice. It was really great. So thank you, Ciara, and all whoever put it all together. Thank you so much. That was very nice.
That reminds me, sorry. Our girls wrestling team won state.
Oh, that's right. And Tatum.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's some pretty awesome stuff going on with the wrestling program at the high school. And I think it might be cool of us to recognize them and stand in the gap there somewhere because phenomenal program. Yeah, he won state. We have, and it's been a minute since we had a champion.
9
So,
years.
yeah. So if we could look into that, maybe recognize them, that'd be awesome.
And the girls wrestling coach got coach of the year.
Yeah, Chad got coach of the year. So crushing it. And that's definitely worth celebrating.
I do.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can. There you go, Amy.
Proclamation.
I will volunteer and read a proclamation.
All right.
Okay, sorry.
Yep. Well, good.
Thank you, James.
All right. With that, is there a motion to move into executive session?
Well, I move to executive session pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024B to receive legal advice from the city's attorney with regard to Mesa County District Court case numbers 25 CV 360 and 25 CV 359 condemnation actions.
First, Deb, did you catch who the second was? Because
I didn't.
Nina and I both spoke up.
Okay.
Said the whole word. I didn't.
All right.
Okay.
Okay, so Amy.
Vote no.
All right. The only thing I'd like to amend to that is we go into an executive session, we take a 10-minute break. So, but
No, we have to vote. We're voting, right? Yeah. Guess what my vote will be.
so Deb, would you kindly?
Counselor Parrish, Counselor Downs,
Yes.
Counselor Miller,
Yes.
Counselor Williams,
No.
Counselor
That's
Hansi,
my vote.
Yes.
Counselor Purser.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-1.
All right.
I know. I lose, but that's my vote.
The time is 8:38. Hey, guys, time's 8:38. We're going to take a 10-minute recess. We'll be back at 8:48. Thank you. That gives me time to find the language I need.
It's not.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah, that's.
No, thank you.
Come on.
What she's
I-
saying is we have loud mouths.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
No, that's,
Thank
no,
you.
that's good.
No,
That's
thank you.
wonderful. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Because I'm guilty. I shift so bad.
I get my legs. I don't know if Janine, did you notice like me wince? I get my legs stuck. And then you see me doing this in the meeting to get my legs unstuck. Steve, you're sticking around? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
It's a ditch, right? Just wanted to make sure. Did it really? No, I missed. So that's why, because I saw you, I'm like, were you seeing? Like, I thought, like.
Yeah, this is the Conwoods project right here. This is actually what it looked like before we cleaned it out, but it was flooding this trail.
Yeah.
And.
Yes.
This is the Cottonwoods.
Right. It's because like a beaver there and everything else, and it's flooding everything.
Where's this though? This is.
All right, so I'll do start. Okay. Oh, is this the universal signal?
Get out, kind of like isolated. It's part of the scene. Like,
So what we've done, already got it all. Got it all the way to the top of the pipe.
You're